I thought that was an interesting answer from Curran on the Alex Van Pelt offense and why Brissett works well there. Brissett's willing to listen to Ramondre Stevenson. Hey, here's what I want to do. These runs aren't working. Let's hit some of these. Brissett relayed that information to Van Pelt, and then they leaned into it.
Yep.
Which I think reflects well on Van Pelt. I don't know how much it reflects well on Brissett. I get what Curran's saying there. He's a veteran. He understands maybe what to pick out and relay back to the coaching staff.
Yeah, maybe trust it a little bit more, right? You've seen it. He's been there, done that.
Yeah,
I guess.
Drake May's like, oh, yeah, he relays it. They're either like, hey, man, buzz off, or maybe he doesn't have the wherewithal because he's got so much going on to not relay that.
Possible.
Fair point. I think some of the pre-snap stuff, I get what Curran's saying, too. I don't want to go too far with what Brissett did. I liked how he was able to scramble and pick up plays with his feet. I was surprised at that.
Yeah.
I like how he largely managed things. Like, there wasn't a lot of pre-snap dysfunction, which I was worried about.
Mm-hmm.
But there weren't a lot of plays that were made there either.
No.
They didn't need to make a lot of plays, but there weren't a lot of plays to be made there. I just don't want to go too far with that.
So I think this is the kind of offense you have to run and gives you a chance to win when you don't have a lot of talent. And that's it. So I'm not going to blame Gerard Mayo for the lack of talent. I'm not going to blame Alex Van Pelt for the lack of talent. This is what it is. It's at best an average offensive line, right? There's no good wide receivers for the most part. And maybe you can make an argument that one or two of them will be good. But right now, not great. The quarterback is what the quarterback is. And then you have Ramondre Stevenson, who's solid. So you feature the running back. Like, that's kind of what you have to do. Yesterday was a day for positivity because they won the game. And I certainly am one of many that did not think they were going to win the game. The reality is this is not an offense that you're going to win a ton of games with. And it's not an offense that is going to have any kind of deep run in the playoffs. And that's not just for the Patriots. That's for anybody that kind of runs it this way. Like, it's 2024. You have to pass the ball. You have to. So last year, this is a quick little stat for you. This is the Rich Keefe stat of the day.
Oh, good. Was this from the
Rich Keefe Stats and Info Department?
It is from the Stats and Info Department.
Yeah,
Nice.
They came up with this.
Good job.
So passing yards per game. Regardless of quarterback, just team passing yards per game. The bottom 5 from last year. The 5 worst passing teams in the NFL.
Got to be the Pats.
Your New England Patriots.
Nice.
The Tennessee Titans.
Ugh.
The New York Jets.
Gross.
The New York Giants.
Ugh.
The Carolina Panthers. Those are, give or take, the 5 worst teams from last year.
Okay.
So you have to be able to throw the ball. And on the one hand, you're like, hey, they can run it. Great. And they can run it. And the opponent knows that they're trying to run and they can still run it. That's impressive. But over the course of a season, you have to throw it. And I don't have a great deal of confidence that they can throw it. Right? Whether it be Brissett, whether it even be the offensive line protecting them for an entire game, or the receivers getting open and making plays. Like that part of it is the reality.
Yeah, so we started off talking about the Crafts and how much credit they deserve, and Van Pelt is all a part of that, right? You bring in Mayo, you bring in Elliott Wolf and empower Elliott Wolf in place of Belichick. Van Pelt feels like a Wolf guy. And so that all ties back to the Crafts as well. And if you want to jump in on that, you can. 617-779-7937. How sustainable is that offense? I know you don't feel like it's sustainable to win running that way. The one thing I will say, and I said this briefly yesterday, and I'll reiterate, I do think it raises your floor a little bit.
I agree.
Like, if you were worried about them winning 3 games or 4 games and taking the under on 4.5 wins, being able to run and do what they did yesterday and not make mistakes, or I'm sorry, on Sunday.
Yep.
Maybe that takes you to a 6-win team. That's not great.
No.
But maybe that raises your floor a little more than we realize. I do think it takes away from you have to throw to win in 2024 in the NFL if you want to be a championship caliber team or a team that's going to win in the playoffs. But that's not our goal for this team or our expectation anyway for this team.
No, and so, I think maybe you do raise the floor up a little bit. I mean, for example, and both teams could change by the time they play each other. But if you watched any of the Tennessee game on Sunday, Will Levis is a mess. Will Levis throws a pick 6 at the end of the game and he looks awful. So if you're going up against a team like that and your quarterback, Jacoby Brissett, isn't turning it over, isn't making these huge mistakes, and the other quarterback is, that's a formula and a recipe to win.
Yeah.
The problem is you run into some of these serious teams that can score points in bunches, or if they get the lead on you, like, all right, now you're kind of scrambling. Like, now your 8-minute touchdown drive or field goal drive, as it ends up being more often than not, what's that going to do? All that does is bleed clock, and now you're still down by 10.
No, it's the extreme example, but the Tebow year, right? The Broncos won all these games, But
it was crazy. Like that was a fun, wild season to watch. How they were going to pull these games out of their hat. They even won a playoff game.
But the Patriots played them twice. That year, the regular season and the playoffs.
Yeah, they destroyed them.
And once you got up 2 scores, they couldn't dig out of it.
As a quick aside, my favorite part of that whole year was all of the
that was a fun year.
NFL experts and especially the former quarterbacks they were going crazy. They were so mad that Tebow was winning. They're like, he can't throw. Yeah. He can't throw. And it's like, he just won again. This guy sucks. It's like, he just won. Oh, he just won a playoff game. He just won a playoff game with a walk-off touchdown pass. Now, they were right for the most part. He couldn't really throw. He wasn't really like a modern-day quarterback. But he won so many games, and they were all crazy. Teams were fumbling. A lot of it was his defense, but it was that was talk about not sustainable. But it was fun to watch, and people were losing their minds talking about Tebow that year.